You're listening to the Full and Thriving Podcast, a place where courageous women come to break free from food obsession, heal their relationship with their body, and strive to live a life that's present, lighthearted, and meaningful. If you're listening, my wish is that this podcast serves as a catalyst that inspires you to nourish your body, nurture your mind, and energize your spirit. I'm your host, Meg McCabe, a certified life coach and eating disorder recovery coach with a PhD in having a good time. Just kidding about that last part. Anyway, thank you so much for listening and enjoy the show. Hello, dear listeners. Oh my gosh, it is so great to be chatting with all of you today. I hope you are having a fabulous day wherever you are. It's actually a snow day here. We got over a foot of snow in Connecticut today, so it's been a very, very cozy day for me. And I'm hoping that you guys are having a cozy day too. Anyway, before I dive into today's episode, I want to thank all of you for listening to the Full and Thriving podcast. I am so grateful to have this beautiful community of listeners trusting me each week. Whenever someone tells me that they listen to the show when they're in the car on their way to work, or when they're cooking dinner, or perhaps cleaning their house, it gives me a sense of joy and accomplishment. There's something really special and magical to me knowing that people are out there receiving the support they need from me through this podcast. And there's something extra magical to me knowing that I've maybe never met this person before and will never meet them, but something I've said can change the path of their life. I know this because I'm a huge podcast fan, and there have been so many podcast episodes I can think back on where I'm listening to the host and they've said something that shifted the way I've thought or made me take action around something I've been afraid of. So I just love that deep fulfillment of knowing that this show has done that for some of you. And it's really mind-blowing to me when I meet someone who's listened to almost every episode and they tell me how much the show has impacted them and their recovery. It is so rewarding. So I wanted to open up saying thank you all so much for being you and for listening. Today, I also have something really special to share with all of you. As some of you know, I know the ladies in the Recovery Collective know, in just 24 days, I will be embarking on one of the most beautiful journeys of my life. I am getting married on March 8th. And if you guys have been with me since 2020, you know I've gone through so many ups and downs to get to this point. I am truly so grateful and excited that I've met the one for me and that we will be married soon. I'm literally so ready for the marriage part. The wedding, on the other hand, is making me a little nervous because it's a big day. And as the days fly by leading up to the wedding, I've been mixed with really positive emotions and a bit of wedding planning overwhelm and a need to take a break so that I don't burn out. So as I stand on this threshold of a new chapter, I've made the decision, a decision to practice what I preach to all of you and to truly honor the essence of full and thriving. I've chosen to embrace this moment of transformation with a moment of rest and a moment of deep reflection. So I must share with all of you that Full and Thriving will be taking a pause for a few months. And don't worry, this is definitely not a goodbye. It's a see you later with a promise of something greater. Didn't mean to rhyme there, but I did. So again, don't worry. I know so many of you get nervous with the idea of change, but this change is so necessary and needed, and it's aligned with my vision for this show. So back when I created Full and Thriving, I actually named this show without an eating disorder reference because deep down in my heart, I've always wanted to reach an audience and talk about broader topics. I've had this dream of inspiring and motivating men and women all around the world. I want to have a podcast that touches people's souls and moves them and inspires change and inspires healing and growth and joy. And this is why almost a decade ago, I became a life coach. However, as I started to lay the foundations of my early business back when I was around 24 years old, it quickly became clear that life coaching was too vague, too elusive, and also a little bit wacky for me. And I also kept running into the problem and perhaps the limiting belief that who out there is going to listen to a 24-year-old claiming to be a life coach, right? So I quickly scrapped that idea and I leaned into my eating disorder story and started to specialize. I found that by creating this niche and leaning on my own recovery experience, this gave me a legitimate voice and some legs to stand on in this giant world and internet where everyone's trying to establish themselves online. Being an eating disorder recovery coach and establishing myself in that way gave me the confidence I need to set myself apart from the rest of the coaches out there. And I got really good at it and I fell in love with it. And that's why it was so easy for me to record 150 episodes of Full and Thriving focused on eating disorder recovery. However, over the past few months, I can feel myself being called back to my original vision. My therapist always says to me over and over again, soul will not be denied. And this is so true for me when I think about why I went into coaching for the first place. So now that I'm on this precipice of so much personal change, I feel like I'm ready to take a leap of faith and transform the Full and Thriving podcast into something more aligned with my original vision and create a platform that allows me to explore, learn, and teach on a variety of topics beyond eating disorders. So mark your calendars, everyone. I am serious about this date. We will be back producing weekly episodes on May 2nd. So when we return on May 2nd, 2024, the Full and Thriving podcast will be reborn, transformed, renewed. We'll delve into a myriad of topics exploring the very essence of what it means to live a full and thriving life. And together we'll explore topics that we can all relate to, whether you have an eating disorder or not, including things like relationships, spirituality, communication. We'll dive into the depths of psychology, healing, self-love, self-trust, self-worth. We'll also soar through the realms of things like confidence, pursuing your dreams, and embracing our truest selves. We'll also stay connected to some topics that are more broadly relatable, such as body image, mental health, and emotions. So you will still be getting a lot of the same vibe of the original Full and Thriving, but we are all expanding together. So for those of you wondering, outside the week of the wedding and the honeymoon, I'll still be working with my one-on-one eating disorder recovery clients during this time. And I should have a few openings come up in April. I deeply enjoy this work and I love working with folks who are recovering from an eating disorder one-on-one. So I do not plan to give that up. So if you do need one-on-one support, you do know where to find me. And with that, my friends, as we say goodbye for now, I want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart for joining me on this incredible journey. I cannot wait to see you again on May 2nd with a new and improved version of the Full and Thriving podcast. I also want to thank my podcast manager, Bob, for being the absolute best at what he does and supporting me through this growth period and giving me the encouragement I need to just go for it. Until then, may you all continue to heal, may you continue to grow, and may you continue to embrace the beauty of this precious gift we call life. I promise I will not be deleting any old episodes, so use this time to re-listen to all of your favorites. And perhaps this is a little invitation for all of you to do a little less and rest this winter and spring as well. I'll definitely be thinking of all of you over the next few months as I prepare for a really exciting 2024. Sending all of you so much love and support and virtual hugs. Thank you again for supporting the show and listening every single week. I am truly so excited to see all of you again in May. All right, that concludes this week's episode of the Full and Thriving podcast. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this episode of the show. When you have a moment, please head on over to Instagram and follow my recovery coaching account at Meg_McCabe to stay up to date on everything I'm doing in recovery land. And if you're feeling extra inspired, please send me a direct message to let me know how this podcast has impacted your life. I'd love to hear your feedback. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you next week.